In most ways, it's actually not remarkable at all why I happen to be the president, being an openly gay man of this particular congregation. This is the first group that actually had a regular drive with its people out at the supermarkets raising food for people affected and infected with HIV. It is a primarily straight group of people. And so that just shows that they really do walk the walk and talk the talk. The last number of years, the Imperial Court and Temple Emmanuel have worked hand in hand in a number of these and other areas. There's something really special about the community that we have created for ourselves as gay LGBT people. I hope we don't lose that. It's one of the things where we have our own special way of relating to people and to each other and to the society at large. We'll have to see how that's all going to sort out in the end.
I used to teach adults, and I would always tell them to follow your dreams. You know, you want to do something, do it. Don't let anything stop you. And one day, it was like a wall hit me, and I said, I have a dream. Why don't I follow my own dreams? Sometimes we put ourselves in situations so that we only have one door. I accepted the position of co-chair Pride, knowing that I was going to have to eventually come out. My friends used to tell me, well, why must you always talk about being a lesbian? I say, because I have to. It's like being black and proud. We were constantly saying, I am black. And you can look at me and tell I'm black, but I had to say it. And I had to say that I'm a lesbian. And I had to make you know it. And it wasn't so much for you, but it's for me to say that word over and over. I am a lesbian.
I'm now staff for the Associated Students of San Diego State. So I now work for the university, but I continue my connection with the LGBT community by directing the LGBT Center. My mom, I think, told my whole family I was gay. So I don't ever remember sitting anyone down and doing that. I need to tell you something, and getting all nervous and shaking, and I'm gay, because my mom found out. She told me, she told my grandma, and then the whole family just was told. Then everyone, I'm like the gayest person at SDSU now. So like another big gay barbecue, here we go again. But for the students that are freshmen, they are just so excited, and you see them posting MySpace bulletins and who's going to big gay barbecue, we're so excited. And the buzz around campus every year is just like, wow. UCSD has the largest LGBT center in the nation at a public university. We joke and say we have the smallest LGBT center because it literally is smaller than this living room we're sitting in, our little office space that I direct. Some of the older gay men who think the G should be before the L and GLBT, who the hell cares? LGBT, GLBT, then they say, well, alphabetically, if it's alphabetically, it should be BGLT. I mean, God. But I still hear people going on about that. Who cares what order it's in?
When I moved to San Diego in 1983, a few months after I moved here, I started working in the HIV/AIDS arena. And there were 22 cases, documented cases of AIDS. So it was a very new reality for our city. Sometimes the most challenging and uncomfortable experiences are the ones that allow us to grow and ultimately be better people. AIDS, to some extent, forced our community to be more out. There are other struggles in our communities can be of a similar nature or can take on a different experience, but with the same theme. I was at a film festival where I was being introduced, and then the organizer of the film festival comes to me and says, you know, I just want to make sure I get your name correct, and so I'm going to write it down, and I spell my name to her and write it on a piece of paper, and she goes up to the microphone and she says, and now I'd love to introduce the executive director of Mama's Kitchen, Mr. Alonso Gomez.
I had brought a cousin of mine to Diablo's. As soon as she walks in, there's 3 girls beating the hell out of each other with pool cues in the back room where the pool table was, you know, and that was like kind of the way it was then. So it was wanting to have somewhere nice that women could go and not feel like they were second-class citizens. Through a series of events, ended up getting sober in that time frame, and it was in the first year that the Flame was open. In Alcoholics Anonymous, there was not a lot of support, particularly for gay people. So I really wanted to support the Live and Let Live Alano Club, which is our gay club here, and keep it open because I think it does marvelous things for people. You know, if you're a young gay woman and you're in high school and you want to go to the prom with another woman, that kind of stuff happens now. You know, it's totally different. Who would have known, you know?
When I was young, what I really wanted to be was a rabbi. But at the time, women were not allowed to be rabbis. First it was to be a teacher, because my mother said teachers get the summer off. Little did she know there would be no teaching jobs, though, at the time. So I got my degree to teach French and secondary education. Couldn't get a job, and so I went to law school. As a member of the bench, and also as a DA, is when people come up to me and say, it's so good to have you there in that position. I feel much more a part of this system. And don't categorize somebody as a Democrat, a Republican, a lesbian, transgender. Treat each individual as an individual with dignity and respect. To the community, I would say get active, get involved, step off the sidelines and into the fray. The sky's the limit.
There was only a few positions in San Diego that I was really interested in after I had completed my pastorate at MCC San Diego, and the Human Dignity Foundation was one of those positions. There was a young man, really beautiful young man, who was a associate pastor at the Assembly of God Church up in North County. The church found out he was gay and kicked him out of the church. No compensation, no thank you. After 8 years, just goodbye. After a period of healing, I was able to lure him back, and just last week he was elected as the new senior pastor at Metropolitan Community Church of San Diego. So there's a story for you.
I'm always happy to talk about the center. I've been on the board there now for, I guess, 7 years and seen a lot of tremendous growth and change. The transgender community has struggled with all the same issues that every other movement has faced in its early stages of organization and identity and strategy, and how we know where we want to go, but how are we going to get there? If you accept that 10% of the population or so is some variation of LGBT, that leaves a whole lot of other people who need to be involved to make it happen. So I came out as a 15-year-old in high school, and it was, it's difficult. High school is a difficult time, but it wasn't a monumentally difficult experience. When I came out to my parents, that was not particularly difficult. I was out in college. I've always been out at work. In a lot of ways, a lot of people become very involved in the struggle and in the movement because they've faced a lot of adversity. I've become very involved in the movement because I want everybody to have that same experience, where it's just not an issue with your classmates or your parents or the community.
Being naive, I thought just do a one-day media blitz, say I'm gay, and it's done and over with. But it's been a life process because you're continually coming out. We had the Gay Pride Parade, and it was there that year we had controversy in '91. They made me Man of the Year. Back then, a lot of people felt by saying you're gay, it was a political statement. A lot of the officers were upset, and the way they showed that they didn't like it, along the parade route, they turned their backs. And so that caused some other officers to decide that they wanted to come out at that time. Up at the police academy, I teach the class on the LGBTQ community. They enjoy listening about, especially transgender, and they have a lot of questions on that. And then I now put an element about the leather community in, and they're asking a lot of questions on that, and I'm not an expert at everything.
Being the first fire chief, woman fire chief for the city of San Diego is quite an honor. And it's because the city of San Diego valued diversity from the early 80s on, actually early 70s. When I was younger, I played softball, basketball, volleyball. Soccer was not the great sport it is today. I'm sure I would have taken that up. I didn't know about my preference until I was older. It was maybe in my 20s. Talk about role models. I probably have to say Chris Kehoe, Tony Atkins have been role models for me. They were women that were in the city of San Diego. They were people that could speak their mind, fight for the community, and I really looked up to them and knew that at some point in time within the city of San Diego, the potential was there for me to be fire chief with role models like Tony and Chris.
At least not holding anything back that you want to ask.
They may be leaving shortly, so are you guys good? Okay, thanks. All right, thanks. Hopefully you have enough.
I came out without really doing it. Like, they know, but they don't talk about it. I joined in a contest, and then with the title came responsibilities, and one of them is raising funds to different organizations that I'm now involved with, and I'm very thankful with the Imperial Court. I serve on the Equal Opportunity Commission and the Human Relations Commission. I got involved for the inclusion of transgender people to our Human Dignity Ordinance citywide. This is the land of the free. Why do we have to beg even for the smallest right of inclusion? I'm part of a military family. We migrated 27 years ago from the Philippines. I may not have become the son that they wanted me to be, but I became a daughter they could be proud of.
I didn't want anybody to know I was gay, but after a while I felt very comfortable, and even though I was still active duty, it just, seemed like the right thing to do. And I stayed in another 6 years. There used to be a gay veterans group here, and there's not anymore. And I had never thought about it because I wasn't an activist or anything. I'd never, the farthest I'd done is maybe play gay softball. I hadn't really been part of it, so I helped reorganize that here in San Diego. Originally, the Stonewall Citizens Patrol was all former veterans, gay and lesbian veterans, and now it's become, general in the community. Anybody can join. And we picked the Stonewall name because of how it originated. It used to be the Stonewall, represented fighting the police, and now we're working with the police. So we just thought that was the right message to send. It's not what I wanted to be in my life, to be politically involved, but I have become, and we have a duty to do that, for the future. So, the youth that are growing up now have something to look forward to, and they don't have to do it all over again.
I think freedom is tied to money. And I even think in this country, I think a lot of the freedoms for women happened when we started pumping our own gas even. Not only could we pay for it, we could pump it ourselves. Surprise, surprise. We talk about 3 sides of the pink triangle. Social side, then the political side, then the economic side, which is the building of wealth in our community, so that we can fire up all those other parts of the community as well. And I didn't come out to my mother because I didn't think she could handle it, to tell you the truth. But what's interesting is when my partner and I moved in together, she sent us a toaster. It wasn't a toaster oven, but it was a toaster, and it was wrapped in wedding paper. So I called her up and I said, "Ma, did you know the toaster came and it was wrapped in wedding paper?" She said, "Oh yes, that's all they had." But it was her way of acknowledging the relationship in a way I thought was really sweet.
When the federal marriage amendment was proposed that would have enshrined discriminations against same-sex couples in the United States Constitution, for the first time I felt like I was under direct assault. I've spent 30-some years involved in politics, statewide and nationally. So when I wanted to start helping my community, I have relied upon those tools a lot. So I've tried to be involved in electing the right people, sometimes succeeded, sometimes failed. If you say to someone that we don't want you even though you're ready to die for your country, you are totally denigrating their value as a citizen of this country. About 8:30 in the morning, I got a call from the mayor saying that he had decided to overturn his prior decision to veto it and instead to sign the amicus brief to ask the state Supreme Court to enable same-sex marriage in California. And that was probably the highlight of my career, and maybe decide to stay and fight another day.
You know, I went to San Francisco at age 19, and the rest is history. You know, the rest is history. It's urgent to me, you know, because I've been a part of the community, open and free, like I said, since the 60s. So it's urgent this happens. So if you see me in my professional capacity, and I may seem overbearing, I may seem pushy, I may seem loud, I may seem big and black, I am. It's a necessity. It's urgent. The time is here. You know, and that's not my intent to hurt anyone's feelings, professionally or personally. It's just that we need services. We need to be understood. We need to be heard. Not someone else's voices, not Barbara Walters' voice, not Oprah's voice, but our voice. You know, that they can provide they can provide the environment for our voice, but our stories must be told by us.
I was in an arranged marriage at 17, which is kind of old-fashioned. And I knew I was a lesbian back then, and I just kept telling my dad, "You're going to regret this." My mother was really angry. She said she was going to take my baby away. So that's when I started making phone calls and called the center and seeing if that could happen, and they kind of referred me, and I did my own research and found out that they couldn't, but there was no support groups for us. That's when I started to become active, met some other women with children. We used to meet at the park. Our kids were playing, and I kind of heard one of them said, "That's my mother," and the other one said, "She's a lesbian." Mine too, and we just saw their smile, and it was like, whoa, they need to be with each other. So we formally made this group called Moms and Me. We got a calls from some dads. It sounds like a mom's group, but you know, we're like, you can join, and so we changed the name to Moms and Me and Dads Too.
My first bar was WCPC in 1979. Back in those days, they weren't in the center of Hillcrest. It was always on the outskirts in the industrial areas. You know, the early 80s, it was just a different world, and the gay community has evolved. We've had so many ups and downs and struggles and fights, but we always seem to persevere, come together, and fight for our rights. San Diego Pride, one year got their, the festival grounds were canceled, and you know, the community rallies together, and at WCPC we had a dirt parking lot, and we were ripping down fences to attach 3 different parking lots to have a festival. As being a business owner in the community, it's real important to give back to the community. I think that started off as WCPC days with the AIDS crisis, that you had to raise a lot of money, and that was where we used to raise an awful lot of money. Currently we own Urban Mo's and Baja Betty's, and I'm partners there with my life partner, Doug Snyder, and we've been together now for, it'll be 25 years in January. So yeah.
How I got involved in the gay community was really the AIDS crisis in the early 90s, actually the late 80s, when friends were dying, and I thought, I gotta do something. I'm not a doctor, so I can't do anything in that field, but I am a lawyer, and so I can help out through the legal clinic at the AIDS Foundation. The partner in tears on the phone. My partner died last week. His family, who I've never even met, are here staying at our house, and they tell me I have to get out by next Friday. I lost friends. You know, they were clients and they became friends, and sometimes they were friends first and then became clients, and then I went to their funeral. That's not right, to be 30 and go to your friends' funerals. And I have nieces and nephews that are younger. David and I have been together for 16 years, and they're 15. They don't know me except being married to David. That generation's going to change the whole world. David always says civil rights is a contact sport. They don't give you your civil rights. They didn't give it to the African Americans. They didn't give it to women. They're not going to give it to us.
I like endowment matches, and I've tried to be helpful to some of our agencies in building their endowments. The Metropolitan Community Church has doubled their endowment. The Center has done a great job in an endowment match, and they are working in order to build that. The Human Dignity Foundation is working to build endowments for the entire community. So there are good Lambda Archives. My gosh, of course, they have an endowment. I was probably coming to grips with my sexuality most in San Jose, and it wasn't necessary to become involved in a gay place per se. So if you met someone, it's likely that you would actually date. But now we've got the diversionary theater, we've got the softball leagues, the political clubs. There's so much more to do now in meeting gay people in a positive environment than there was before.
So you always have to constantly come out because they will simply assume you're straight if you don't tell them otherwise. It would just be really the wrong message to send out to say that, oh, things are just so bad today when we don't recognize how much they have changed for the better. That would be saying that 35, 40 years of social activism meant nothing, and that's not true. What the, quote, lesbian community meant to me in 1970 or 1980 is very different to what it means to a 20-year-old queer woman in 2007. The more visible you get, the more threatening you are, and therefore the more reaction there is. In a way, it's a sign of exactly how much progress we've made that we still have to fight so much.